In this video, we will be making 4 servings of Thai basil chicken with rice. First, we need to make an aromatic paste. To make this, we will need 4 shallots. You could also use an equivalent amount of red or brown onion instead of shallots if you want. Whatever you use, roughly chop it into smaller pieces and set aside. Next, I have 4 red chilies. 2 of these are a little more spicy, while the other 2 are a little more mild. You can use chilies of whatever spice level you want, or use a combination of different chilies. Whatever you use, chop them up into pieces and set them aside with the shallots. And I also have 8 cloves of garlic, which I have already peeled. Just smash them with the side of your knife and set them aside. I am using this mini manual food processor to make the paste since it makes the process quick and it is easy to clean. Otherwise, you can use a mortar and pestle or just chop everything finely. I just added everything to the processor and blended it briefly to get a paste. Once I was happy with the consistency, I added it to a bowl and set it aside until ready for cooking. Next, let's make the sauce. To a bowl, add half a tablespoon of white sugar, 1 teaspoon of chicken stock powder, 1 tablespoon of soy sauce or fish sauce, 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce, and 1/4 cup of water. Or you could use chicken or vegetable stock, but don't add the stock powder. Stir to combine and this sauce is done. And the last thing to prepare is the chicken. Here I have 500 grams of chicken thighs, which I am going to trim any excess fat, skin, connective tissue, bone or cartilage that I didn't want. Then I cut the chicken into small pieces so that we can make minced chicken. Add the pieces to the same processor and blend until it is minced to your desired consistency. I prefer mincing the chicken myself using thighs since the pre-minced chicken tends to be too lean and dries out when cooked in this dish. I also prefer the texture when mincing myself as you can control how fine or chunky you want it. By the way, you can also use minced pork or beef for this dish instead of chicken. Whatever you use, set it aside until ready for cooking. I also have here a few handfuls of fresh basil leaves. Traditionally, this dish would use holy basil, but I have never seen that available where I live. You could also use Thai basil, just use whatever you have available to you. And with everything prepared, we can now cook. I am using a carbon steel wok, which is ideal, but this dish will also work using a large pan. Just make sure to have everything prepared before you start cooking. To start, heat the wok on maximum heat until hot. I know my carbon steel wok is ready when it starts smoking. Add 1 tablespoon of any neutral flavoured high heat cooking oil and swirl to coat the surface. Add the chicken and spread it around in a single layer. Let it sit for 1 to 2 minutes without moving it to sear on the bottom. Once the bottom of the chicken is seared, flip it or mix it around and let it sit for another 1 to 2 minutes to sear on the other side. At some point, some liquid will probably be released from the meat. When this happens, just let it sit without touching it until the liquid evaporates, and then the meat will start to sear again. Once you have seared the other side of the chicken, we can add the aromatic paste. Stir fry to cook the aromatics and break up the chicken into smaller pieces. I did this for about 2 minutes or so. Then we can add the sauce. Stir the sauce briefly because there will probably be some undissolved sugar resting on the bottom. Then add it to the wok and stir constantly. Keep mixing until most of the liquid has evaporated. If you want it a little saucier, then don't cook it for as long, and if you want it drier, then cook it for longer. Once it is the consistency you want, turn the heat off and add the basil. Stir this through and the residual heat will be enough to wilt the basil a little. And with that, our stir fry is done. Now we just need to make some rice to serve it with. Add 2 cups of jasmine rice to a pot and rinse it with water. Repeat this 3 to 4 times or until the water is significantly less cloudy. Then strain the rice, shaking off as much excess water as possible. At this point, you can cook the rice in a rice cooker, but here is how you can cook it in a pot. Add the washed rice back to the pot in addition to 2 1/4 cups of water. I also like to add a pinch of salt to my rice, but that is optional. Then bring the rice to a boil over high heat. Once boiling, cover with a lid, reduce the heat to the lowest setting, and cook for 12 minutes. After 12 minutes, turn the heat off but keep the lid on, and let it sit for another 10 minutes. And after 10 minutes, you should have some perfectly cooked rice. Fluff it up with a spatula to remove excess steam. And the only thing left to do is to add the food to containers. Evenly distribute the rice on one side of the container and the chicken on the other side. Let it sit to cool for a little while before adding the lids and storing in the fridge for up to around 1 week. To serve, just microwave to reheat and enjoy. Each serving ended up being 543 calories with 33 grams of protein, 81 grams of carbohydrates, and 9 grams of fat.